Hi, my name is Michelle Inglesano, and I am the co-author of Methylation Madness, Insight into the Biochemical and Personal Lives of Hypermethylators. That's what my book looks like. I co-wrote the book with my orthomolecular biochemical nutritionist named Dr. Terence Doolin. Dr. Doolin has been treating me for about 30 years, and I am what you call a hypermethylator. I put out a couple of other videos explaining this. And what I've been receiving from text messaging or emails is people asking me who have the MTHFR or COMT gene malfunctions is what are the symptoms of hypermethylation? So instead of me writing and writing or all these different symptoms, I thought I'd make a list and I would read and discuss them quickly with you. So, a sweet tooth. Hypermethylators have a really good sweet tooth. I love sweets. It could be fruit with honey, it could be cake, um, it could be ice cream. I love ice cream. So, that's one symptom. Is it a bad one? Is it a good one? Um, I initially started my journey, let's call it, with severe anxiety and panic disorder with OCD. I would be in a constant state of panic. I couldn't ride trains anymore. I couldn't go to the beach without a panic attack because I was agoraphobic. I couldn't go into small elevators because I was claustrophobic. I still don't like closed spaces, but I'm able to manage myself because my chemistry is balanced. I used to be so OCD, I would clean constantly, just making every little thing. At night, my pillows had to be perfectly fluffed. There couldn't be a crumb on the floor. Now I'm still a very orderly person. I like things to be put together nicely, but it doesn't interrupt my state of being. I used to drive to work and then I would come straight home as I got there to check that I shut my garage door. I would do this 2 or 3 times before I would leave my house. I would go in and out of my house numerous times to check that I turned off the burners. But in my head, I knew that I did turn them off. I used to have, I wouldn't say that I had chronic depression by any means. That's a whole nother story. I feel for people who have that, but I would have up and down sadness and I wouldn't even know why. They wouldn't last very long, but it would be kind of like just like a feeling of dread, a feeling of fear, a feeling of sadness. I would also have crying jags. They would just out of the blue. I remember one time um, I was at my friend's house many years ago, and I was having a great time. This is actually, I believe I put this in the book. I don't remember. I was having a great time at my friend's house, and out of the clear blue sky, I just started crying. No reason, having a good time, laughing, joking around, and it just happened. Um, and this would happen all the time. And along with that, I would have, I would hyperventilate. And this does happen once in a while because I am still a hypermethylator. But symptomatically, it's very different. And it happens when my sulfur cycles. Um, that hyperventilating is what I'm talking about. Sometimes the crying will happen too if my glutamine, which is kind of, that's getting into biochemistry, but it's rare. I know how to balance myself. But the hyperventilation, that kind of happens when the histamine, like this weather outside, killer, um, that does happen. I don't go into like needing a paper bag, but I need like a deep breath, and I finally would get a deep breath. That kind of coincides with a very foggy mind. Like I can't, kind of like if you drink a little too much wine or something, you just sort of like, you sort of feel a little foggy. You don't have, you're not really able to focus well. Then you have some fast thinking. or overthinking. That's another symptom. Um, Body pain. So I couldn't figure out why at times my body, my joints would hurt. I just felt like I needed to stretch all the time. That's another symptom. Forgetting words. Some days I was out one day and I was talking to somebody about the book. Couldn't remember the name of my book. Couldn't remember it, and then it comes back to me. That's especially happening right now with the weather like that. The histamine level outside, the pollen, like I said, it's playing havoc, and also plays havoc on stomach. I would get very bad stomach aches. I was drinking my Lanta like, just like I would a cup of coffee. I was actually speaking with someone last night on the phone who is an MTHFR person as well. And I was saying, that's what I would do. I would just drink my Lanta and take Tums and everything. That's in the book as well. I would be very gassy, very belchy. That happens still. When my sulfur is up, I get very, very belchy. I would get headaches constantly. Um, they aren't like a traditional migraine. It's a sulfur migraine or an adrenaline migraine. It starts in the back of my head in my occipital lobe back here, and then it can travel up and around and right into my temples, and that in turn just tightens everything up in my back, and it's terribly painful, and I used to get them a lot. Then Dr. Doolin, he balanced out my chemistry and he uses certain supplements. So it's very rare, maybe once every 3 months, or I can eat something that will trigger it, or I could drink something that can trigger it once in a while. But they hurt. They hurt. Food sensitivity, medication sensitivity. I touch nothing that has sulfur in it for the most part. Nothing that methylates. Medication, nothing that has sulfur or methylates. Bad news. Bad news for a hypermethylator. Nothing with methyl in it. Nothing with sulfur in it. It will trigger a headache in me. It'll trigger anxiousness, not anxiety like I used to have, but just kind of like the jitters. Like I feel jittery, and I feel like garbage. Then there's tons and tons of energy. I can do more in an hour than most people at times. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because during those times it's hard for me to focus because my adrenaline is so high. But I do get a lot done. And then on the other hand, when my adrenaline crashes quick, because I go up and down with my adrenaline. That's my pathway, my methylation pathway goes up and down, up and down, up and down. Other people up, and then they stay down. So when I'm down, I'll crash. But it doesn't last too long. Heart palpitations. When my histamine level, like now with the pollen, I'll get like a heart skip of a beat. The whites of my eyes and the colors of my pupils can change color. The whites of my eyes become more of a yellowy tinge to it. Not like when I was in liver failure. Thank you, God. Thank you, Dr. Doolin. But they'll get a little bit on the yellower side, and my skin gets a little more yellow. I have more of a yellowish undertone to my skin. And my eyes will get a little bit greener, which is kind of why we did that on the book cover. Those are my eyes, and we greened up my eyes a little bit to show the sulfur. So when my methylation goes a little higher and it's firing a little more, my eyes get a little more green rather than more on the browner side as today. What color? Blurred vision. Speaking of eyes, when my adrenaline is firing, my sulfur's going, my methylation is woohoo. My vision gets kind of blurry, and I keep kind of having to do one of these things, trying to focus a little bit more. They feels like something's just blocking them. Get a little shaky. Another symptom is spaciness, like you're walking around and you're sort of like, you know what's happening, but you're just kind of out of it. And dizziness. Dizziness does come with hypermethylation. So those are the symptoms that I could, off the top of my head. Having my body chemistry balanced now over I guess 30 years about. I'm a completely different person. I do have symptoms, but I'm able to manage them because I know what foods to eat, what supplements to take. It takes a long time to really understand. Also, I can have a very fast temper, but it takes me a lot to get angry. But when I do get angry, I get angry. You know, it's like, "Arr." But then if someone would just say, "I love you, Michelle," or "You're so great," or "Hey, the weather's outside is really pretty," it'll shut my mind off, and it'll just bring me down. Dr. Doolin has explained this to me numerous times, and it kind of just gets your neurotransmitters going, and instead of focusing on that, I'm able to be brought down very simply. Very few people in my life can get me to here. It's happened, of course, but I'm more of a it builds up kind of person. So those are all those symptoms that hypermethylators have. I hope this helped. I know this is on the more lengthy side of a video, but I've been asked so many times to go into detail a little bit more. Having a balanced biochemistry is the best gift that I've ever had in my entire life, because I'm happy. I'm good. I have my bad days and my good days, but like I said, being on Dr. Doolin's diet, which is strict for me, I'm able to really just live life and be as happy as I possibly can. Meditation is a gigantic part of my life, which also I started doing back in the day when I had my panic attacks. I'm now a Reiki healer, and I'm also a holistic meditation teacher. Round it all out, and just happy. I'm good. Please keep texting me and asking me questions, and just believe right here, this person wasn't this person 30 years ago, and I'm loving life. Thanks. Namaste.